Well, hello once again. Good afternoon and welcome to live coverage of race 3 here in Paul Ricard. We're in France for round 2 of the Euroformula Open 2021. We've had our first 2 races yesterday and this morning, with the American Jack Crawford coming out on top and doing the Paul Ricard double. He also achieved the fastest lap time in race 2, which thanks to a revitalised Euroformula race format means he has secured pole position for race 3, which is just a few moments away. My name is Harry Benjamin. It's been an absolute pleasure to guide you through all the action so far this weekend. We're in Le Castellet, near Marseille in the south of France. Not enjoying, though, the typical weather that the south of France might bring, as it has been quite a grey and overcast day all day. Temperature slightly up from this morning, but only around 18 degrees Celsius. But the drivers await them. 15 turns, 5.8 kilometres, 3.6 miles round this French track. Of course, home of the Formula One Grand Prix. Has hosted the French Grand Prix since 1971. Then closed and undertook renovations, home of the Toyota Formula One testing team, and then reopened in 2009 as a racetrack, and last year celebrated its 50th anniversary, and it is home for round 2 of the Euroformula Open. We had a great race earlier on today as well, which Jack Crawford was able to win, and it was a great race from actually, because he didn't have the blessing of starting out on pole, but had to do it on track from Louis Foster, who had a great start and was able to make a move around the outside into turn 1 and hold off Jack Crawford for as long as he might, but was unable to do so in the final few laps of the race. The 2 Crypto Tower Racing teammates. But apologies, the Jack Crawford Team Motor Park, and of course Louis Foster is Crypto Tower, but Crypto Tower being assisted by Team Motor Park in a technical way, as we watch the number 35, Enzo Scionti. Had a tough weekend so far for the DriveX drivers. They've admitted they've been making a few mistakes here and there throughout the races, also struggling with a few braking issues which they think they have now fixed. But that's what we're here to do, isn't it? These drivers are young, up-and-coming racing drivers looking to forge a career in either single-seaters or move over to GTs or tin tops, and they're here to make mistakes and push to their limits and learn from it and improve with every mile on track, and that is what they are doing, and Jack Crawford is certainly doing that at the moment. So far, so good for the man, the 16-year-old man from Houston, Texas, who starts on pole. Alongside him will be the man he overtook to get the win in the earlier race, Louis Foster for the Crypto Tower Racing team, 17-year-old Brit. And then just behind them in third, we'll see Cameron Dass for Team Motorpark. A good result from him, saw him line up in third after a dominant run in Portugal, where he did the triple and won all 3 races. So I think his compatriot will be wanting to do the same. Fourth, Casper Stevenson we see there. And then just behind him will be Josh Mason, who has had a difficult weekend so far for the RR Racing team. He tried to get the fastest lap in race 2. Couldn't quite make it work, but has got him up to 5th. So from there, he'll be hoping for a solid start to play in that battle for the podium. Rafael Villagomez involved in an incident, the number 8 car, the Van Amersfoort racing car, involved in an incident in race 2, down into turn 3. Unable to do anything about it, had to fight his way back up the field. Enzo Trulli for DriveX School, currently in 7th place, the rookie driver. Hoping he can make some moves up from there. Nazim Azman really struggling with the starts so far this year, or certainly in France. Nearly stalled in race 1, and he started on pole for race 2, but couldn't get away and had lost the lead by the first corner, and then found himself involved in that collision with Villagomez. Then we have Philippe Caminiaz in 9th for the number 88 car. Was able to get into some nice battles for race 2 earlier on. Vivian Kasei, the Hungarian, will go from 10th for Team Motorpark, hoping to fight in that top 10 battle. Just outside it, though, is Enzo Scionti, who had to pull off in race 1 with smoke billowing from the cockpit. And last of the runners will be the rookie Zdeněk Chovanec, the number 66 car. Racing for double R. But here's what happened then in that race. Let's have a look at it. It was Jack Crawford in race 1 who got off to an absolutely sublime start. Jarno Trulli having a little look in the background, but that Red Bull livery car of Jack Crawford able to make it through cleanly. And there, as I was referring to, was Enzo Scionti had to pull out of the way. Then the number 18 car, Nazim Azman, fighting his way up the order past Josh Mason, but it was Jack Crawford who took race 1 victory. Then we did it all over again this morning in race 2, and there on your right-hand side, Nazim Azman with another slow start, but able to get away this time. But look to your left, and that was Louis Foster, able to make a brilliant start and get around both the two cars in front of him, round the outside and in the lead by turn 2. So a brilliant start for the Brits. And then when there was our little incident with Nazim Azman trying to regain ground, causing a collision with Villa Gomez there. No action there. And this was our battle that was going on for so long until Jack Crawford managed to get past Louis Foster in those final few laps and then come across to take the checkered flag and the win for race 2. It is the double so far for Jack Crawford. Can he make it the triple? Elliot alongside me in the booth.
Quite possibly he could. You know, 2 wins out of 3 is already a good achievement, but you know, it's easier to win from the front than from 6th place, and the fact that he did it from 6th yesterday, or actually this morning, would suggest that he can quite easily do it from the front again.
5 rookies in the field as well. Let's take a look at your starting grid proper on row 1. It is Jack Crawford from Louis Foster. Team Motorpark and Crypto Tower Racing Team lock out the front row. Cameron Dass and Casper Stevenson just behind them in 3rd and 4th. Then it is Josh Mason and Rafael Villa Gomez. Villa Gomez involved in an instant, hoping to make up ground this time around. Enzo Trulli goes from 7th ahead of Nazim Azman, who I think will just be praying he gets a decent start. Philippe Camignaz is 9th ahead of Vivian Kasei, who has had a decent run of it so far in the top 10 throughout. Enzo Scionti 11th, and Zdeněk Chovanec will go from last on the grid for double R Racing. And the green flag flies, and we're ready to go for the formation lap. And I know we never like to predict, but it's tough to rule out, Elliot. Jack Crawford, as Louis Foster gets a bit of a slow getaway there, but it's tough to rule out Jack Crawford doing the triple here.
Yeah, and he had a superior tyre life, and basically he could run at a certain pace and use less of the tyres than his 2 teammates. Well, one teammate in Cameron Dass, and then Crypto Tower Racing Team's Louis Foster. And between races 1 and 2, they worked on it and they got very close. We saw that actually when Crawford got behind Foster in race 2, he just couldn't find a way through. They were too closely matched on pace. And eventually, on the penultimate lap, getting very, very close to the pit wall, they managed to do it. And he managed to take the lead. And going into race 3, you know, they've had time to do a little bit more setup work, examining the tyres. Hopefully everyone does have a fresh set of tyres for the race. You can't really see from where we're sat if anyone has got a scrubbed set on. But if they do, that's going to have an impact on pace as well. And on this formation lap, you know, the track, you can see the marbles, you can see where kind of different colours of the asphalt where rubber's been laid down. That's going to make it particularly slippery on some areas. But biggest surprise of the day actually is the last 2 days it's been really cloudy, really murky, and suddenly at 3 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon in France, the sun's kind of come out, the clouds are receded. It's the nicest conditions we've had so far.
A little bit, apart from that big grey cloud right above us.
Yeah, apart from that one.
So, yes, rain has been threatening all weekend. It's been sort of forming in drips and drabs, but nothing too torrential that has upset the drivers too much. And of course, as you mentioned, with all the marbles offline, we just had an hour of the International GT Open Series running around, so there's going to be a lot of tyre debris. So, and as we see with the Euroformula cars, they do tend to run wide sometimes, especially when they're battling, so that could really have an effect on their tyres, which, as Jack Crawford said after the race, played a real factor in how he won, because Foster said he just couldn't hang on to his tyres at the end of the day, and that was how Jack Crawford was able to get past him for the lead.
And with, you know, this was set, the grid for this race is set by the fastest laps in race 2. So up in 5th place is Josh Mason. He had a bit of an iffy start to the race, but he cleverly went for a pit stop, got a fresh set of tyres on, and despite not having access to the slipstream that everyone else had, still managed to set the 5th fastest lap. So he starts on 5th today, ahead of Rafael Villa Gomez and behind Casper Stevenson. So he's sandwiched by the Van Amersfoort racing cars. We have Cameron Dass in 3rd, so it's the race 2 podium trio in the top 3. Further down, Trulli who is basically he's provisionally on the rookie class podium right now. So Crawford is our lead rookie in third, Stevenson in fourth place as the next best rookie, and then Trulli in seventh.
Yeah, Trulli was saying earlier to me that he's making a few mistakes this weekend. They had a brake issue. They think they fixed it now. So he's hoping for an improved performance through this race. We see some of the Van Amersfoort team members having a little bit of a chin wag there pre-race. But it will be Jack Crawford coming through now to take up pole position on the grid. Behind him will be Louis Foster, Cameron Dass, who is currently our points leader. 112 points in the standings ahead of Louis Foster in 71. Jack Crawford, considering he missed the first two races, is currently sitting in third. But as we wait for Chovanec in the background to take up that final grid spot in P12, we will look for the green flag to wave at the back of the pack to signal we are clear to go racing. And there it waves, and it is all eyes to the lights. And foot to the floor as we go racing in France. It looks like a decent start from Jack Crawford. Louis Foster might want to think about doing that outside manoeuvre that worked so well for him in race 2. Cameron Dass in the background trying to find a way through. Left, right, not working for him. Josh Mason having to go out very wide as they go through turns 1 and 2. But they all seem to make it through quite cleanly as we head down to turn 3 now. But Louis Foster has managed to take the lead from Jack Crawford. He's got the inside line now. It's going to be who breaks later. And it looks like Foster has been able to get Jack Crawford coming out of turn 2, and in the run down to turn 3 as we look in the background there, that looks like one of the DriveX cars having a battle with one of the Van Amersfoort cars, getting safely through there. So nice to see all the drivers making it through cleanly.
Yeah, and he got a greater traction going around the outside at turn 1, which is where Foster made the move. But Crawford did try to regain it, and he's going to do so again in the slipstream. Mason alongside Casper Stevenson for 4th. Foster's going to go for the outside. Not outside enough, though, because out of frame. Crawford is now actually on the inside going into the chicane. He's going to take the lead, slides. Foster keeps the position, but Mason is past Stevenson for 4th.
You can see a huge train of weaving behind from every single driver there, trying to get out of the slipstream, get in the slipstream, get out of it. And Jack Crawford wanting to have another look around the outside of Louis Foster. Will he be able to sweep round the outside? We'll have to wait and see. He is alongside there, and don't rule out Cameron Dass, who's going to try and have a little look down the inside, thinks better of it. That probably would have ended very well. But the Red Bull car there still very much in sight for Louis Foster. But it is Louis Foster, Jack Crawford and Cameron Dass, your top 3. Josh Mason has managed to make up a position to 4th. Casper Stevenson in 5th. Enzo Trulli is in 6th. Nazim Azman 7th. Villa Gomez 8th. Caminiars is in 9th. Schionti had a battle there in the background, I think, with Chovanec and Cassay, and he won out there, so he is now in 10th. And then Chovanec and Cassay is the last of the runners.
That was very, very brave stuff from Jack Crawford there, going on the inside to the chicane and then the outside at the high-speed turn 10. So Louis Foster crosses the line to finish his first lap, 0.658 seconds ahead of Crawford. Dass is probably going to be pressuring Crawford more than Crawford's pressuring Foster, as further back for 6th place, Rafael Villa Gomez under pressure from Nazim Azman as we go back to our front 3.
Let's have a look, because Nazim Azman really wants to make up ground this weekend. He's had a torrid start to his weekend in France, with both races experiencing poor starts, so he'll want to get past Villa Gomez as quick as possible for 6th and try and work his way up. But Louis Foster now creating an ever so slight visible gap. We'll see what it says on the timing markers when they come through. And that looks like Trulli all over the back of Azman now, who has fallen back a tad from Villa Gomez. And then the second of those red and white cars is Schionti coming up behind Caminiars in the background. As we look to the front, Louis Foster holding on to that lead from Jack Crawford. Cameron Dass as well, lurking ominously in the background, I'd say. And then Mason just slightly detached in 4th. Stevenson rounding out the top 5.
Yeah, and if Mason has got slightly lower rear wing level, which traditionally R Racing has a little bit in the past at some circuits, a bit like this, then that should keep him in that slipstream of the top 3 and will prevent them from pulling away. But you know, there's a train of 12 cars at the moment. It's pretty good to see them all in one shot. I think Jack Crawford isn't going to attempt what he did last time round on this lap, but if he doesn't stay close to Foster, Dass is more than able to and more than wanting to pick up that 2nd place.
Indeed, well, Louis Foster is your current leader, the 17-year-old from the United Kingdom. Made his debut in Euroformula last year, a win and 3 podiums to his name. He will want to add to that collection, as he has already done so. It's been a very solid start for Foster, who takes now the fastest lap as well. Jack Crawford hunting him down Cameron Dass in third. And then we're sort of getting a split of two trains of cars here. The top three, then Mason, and then Stevenson leading another train of cars, which include Villagomez. And actually then it's another gap back to Asman and Trulli. So it's sort of 2 by 2 by 1 by 2 by 2. As we go on board with Jack Crawford, who now takes the fastest lap back from Foster.
Coming down to turns 3 and turns 4. Cameron Dass carrying more speed, but then obviously he's got 2 cars ahead of him, so he's having to brake actually a little earlier to make sure he doesn't slide a little too close to them. Jack Crawford, you know, I imagine while he was very patient in race 2, a little bit frustrated he's going to have to do this all again in race 3.
Yeah, well, this was a replay of the start. A couple of slow starters there. I wonder if Nazim Asman is one of them. But let's have a look here. Jack Crawford and Louis Foster were sort of even starts, I'd say. It was Cameron Dass who I think got the best start, but then just didn't have anywhere to go. He couldn't carry that speed through. We nearly go 3 wide through those turn 1 and 2. And Louis Foster was able to get the deal done coming out of turn 2 there, carrying that speed and momentum down into turns 3, 4, and then just about fending off Jack Crawford when they were all weaving, slipping and sliding to try and make the most of that slipstream. A good battle there as well. That is the number 18 car, Nazim Asman, falling down the field.
And Cameron Dass is going around the outside of Jack Crawford at turn 10. There's a brave move, he's done it.
And he's going to try and see if he can make it too. He can't, he's going to late on the brakes there. Can he get Foster as well? Crawford not giving up without a fight. The two Americans go wheel to wheel. Louis Foster getting a great view of this in his rear mirror. And that will give Crawford the inside line, but into the next corner, that will give Dass the inside line and the advantage. And it looks like Dass has made it through into second ahead of Jack Crawford, who has a little look down into turn 14, can't do anything about it. This has all allowed Josh Mason to come into the 4 as well. Louis Foster leads. Then it's Dass, Crawford and Mason, your top 4.
Brilliant, brilliant stuff there. Very, very brave as well. And we saw actually further back Rafael Villagomez get past Casper Stevenson for 5th place. So end of the 3rd lap, just 1.2 seconds covering the top 4 cars. I think Mason's he thought better of it. He was certainly looking down the inside of turn 1. We see Enzo Sionti actually passed Caminiars for 9th place as well. Coming down here to turn 3, we know Jack Crawford has attempted to make moves down here, but I think Cameron Dass will bide his time through this part of the lap and wait until later on. That was a particularly dramatic first 2 laps. And looking at the grid spots where our front 2 started, there was a lot of wheel spin for Louis Foster and Jack Crawford. And Cameron Dass, very clean getaway, but then just boxed in straight away and couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, well, it is now Louis Foster who Cameron Dass has got his eyes set on. And Crawford seemingly not enjoying this car as much as he was in the earlier race, able to really take it to the leaders, but he's not going to give up just yet, using that slipstream to really go deep on the brakes and get closer to Dass, just 0.4 between them, and he still does have the fastest lap, holding off Josh Mason for now, who was half a second back, so he was all over the back of Crawford's diffuser, not so much anymore, as we see the rest of the field come through in the background as Villagomez, Stevenson, Asman and Trulli, then Scionti and Caminiars. As we head on to lap 3.
And Dass has got a lot closer. He definitely allowed the gap to grow almost, and then suddenly swooped back in at turn 10 through these kind of longer, higher speed apex corners that you can't really overtake at. Here is a replay of when Jack Crawford got passed by Cameron Dass straight around the outside of turn 10. Crawford kept the inside line going into turn 11, and actually, hopefully we're going to see turn 12 as well, where Crawford very cleverly jumped on the brakes and then kind of cut on the inside.
It was
here it is.
Superb. Yeah. There it is. Yeah, having a last think about it, trying to maintain that second position, but that Dass car just too fast. But he's lost it again. So Jack Crawford has now got in front of Dass once again. Yes, he has. So we've missed that, but we'll hopefully get a replay of it. So Crawford back in front of Dass. So a nice little bit of racing there between Crawford and Dass, the two Americans. Josh Mason still very much in the hunt behind. This is it, I imagine. That is a brilliant move from Jack Crawford, who just absolutely dive bombs down the inside, forces Dass into a little bit of a lock-up so he can't turn in, going through the final corner, and Crawford's done him before they even reach the exit. So Crawford not willing to give up without a fight. The two Americans battling for second and third behind Louis Foster, who has managed to edge away ever so slightly, but I think Louis Foster will be thinking this is what happened in earlier race and I didn't get the win. So I've got to be careful here that I don't try and waste too much of my tyre life in defending, but also he'll want that race win.
Yeah, and we've got a nice close-up of Crawford's tyres there. We want to look for kind of black bands going around the tyre, because that shows basically getting old, essentially. And we did see that. I looked at the cars just as they finished the race at the previous race, and Foster's was certainly a little more kind of stripped up than the other two. Crawford got very close there to the rear of Foster. Foster's rear end actually slid out there on the apex of turn 11, but he's got a comfortable enough margin that I don't think Crawford's going to dive down the inside. Crawford's just getting very ambitious on the brakes. I think he thinks he can take the lead in this race. That's what he's showing, the body confidence in the car right now.
I think he lost a bit when Das overtook him, and I think he got a little bit worried there. So now he wants to just try and take that lead and then absolutely run away with it, so he didn't have to worry about being behind anybody. On board with Enzo Trulli, back in 8th place, 8 tenths behind Nazim Azman. Yes, race 2 pole sitter. And then Casper Stevenson just in front of them, so a nice little battle brewing here, and that is Jack Crawford having a little look at Louis Foster down into turn 1. Doesn't want to do it there, as we see Azman get through on Stevenson further back for 6th place. Down into turn 3, can, oh no, not turn, yes, turn 3. Can Crawford do anything? No, he can't there. Mason falling back a little bit, but keeping within sight. So if anything goes wrong for these front runners, Mason could well be in for a nice gift. But very good racing so far in Euroformula. It is Louis Foster in the lead, being hunted down by Jack Crawford, trying to weave all over the place to get out of the slipstream, or providing that slipstream to Crawford. Taking that defensive line. Crawford's going to try and go around the outside though. Late on the brakes. How deep do you dare? Not daring enough, I'm afraid, from Crawford on that occasion, although he did give it a fair effort, to be fair. Still second for now, so this battle for first, Foster, Crawford, Das, and the harder they fight, the more this brings Josh Mason into contender, and then Villa Gomez not too far behind that, and then we have a trio of cars of Azman, Stevenson and Trulli, so the top 8 really are quite close, and Louis Foster having to defend down the inside there as Crawford gets a good run on him. Das as well is going to be in there, and this looks like a carbon copy of what happened earlier on when Das took the lead, but they all seem to make it through 1, 2 and 3 as they go. Crawford sticking with him through the corners. Foster holds on.
It does look like Louis Foster's car is oversteering very slightly. It's getting a little tail happy, and therefore he's basically being a little more careful going to every corner, it looks like. And that's where it looks even more that Crawford's suddenly jumping and pouncing on him, where he's got more confidence, particularly on the brakes. Coming to the end of this 6th lap of the race, we're going to have top 3 cars covered by around half a second, I imagine. 9 tenths of a second. So all 3 of them actually. Cameron Das is the fastest of the 3 there. Josh Mason back within 1.6 seconds. This battle could go all the way to the end, I think. And
Crawford will be thinking he is faster than Foster. He knows it. He can feel it as well. He's watching that car from behind, watching its every move. So he'll know where he's planting the car the longer he stays behind him. But that can be a bit difficult, because you can get into the habit of starting to copy the driver in front of you rather than trying to make those differences and overtake the longer you're stuck behind someone. But I'm sure Crawford will use all of his relative experience so far to make that not happen. He's only 16 years old, the 2020 ADAC F4 second place finisher. Also doing FIA Formula 3 with High-Tech this year. But it is Louis Foster who still leads the way after 6 laps. Crawford having a little look, deciding not there, not close enough on this occasion. Das in 3rd, Mason 4th, Villa Gomez 5th, Azman in 6th. Stevenson 7th, 8th, Trulli 9th, Schionti for the 2 DriveX school cars. Caminiars in 10th, Chovanec 11th, and then Kisei another 1.3 seconds back in 12th.
And the queue of cars behind is actually getting closer. Enzo Trulli, one of the fastest of the group, and Louis Foster's under pressure from the outside, then on the inside. Jack Crawford does it at turn 11.
That's going to allow Jack Crawford to start to pull away. Louis Foster not going to want to give that up without a fight, but he goes wide again, and that is going to leave him vulnerable to Cameron Das, who's the 3rd car, who's going to sweep round taking the tighter line, but that's going to give him the outside line going into this final section of the lap, but he's going to stick with him because now he's going to get the inside line going into turn 14, but that is going to give Louis Foster the inside line going into turn 15. Could Foster get it slowed on the race? He even has a look at Jack Crawford for good measure, gets it stopped in time. No one touches, through onto the start-finish straight they go, and it is is Crawford from Foster, from Das, but Das is absolutely all over the back of Foster, who isn't too far back from Crawford either. Crawford having to take the defensive inside line. Foster actually is going to have the advantage. Ow, that was a bit cheeky, I think, from Foster moving over on Crawford. Foster managing to get back through after the first two corners. These three are so tightly packed. And look, the fourth car of Josh Mason wants to have a go at this as well. He's going to take the outside line going into turn 3 and get close to Cameron Das. Not on that occasion, though, as they were. Louis Foster from Jack Crawford. Then it's Cameron Das and Josh Mason. Your top 4 covered by less than a second.
Wow, it's getting dramatic. I actually lost my voice there. It was getting too much.
You lost your voice?
Yeah. Louis Foster's doing a brilliant job there. He clearly doesn't have the tyres of the two cars behind him. Cameron Das is actually the fastest driver on track of this lead quartet. And Rafael Villagomez even further back. Crawford trying the outside line going into the chicane. He is as close as possible. Cameron Das going to try and go around the outside. Almost touches wheels coming to the exit of the chicane. So he's now tucked straight into the slipstream. It's now a 6-car battle for the lead with Nazem Asman at the back. Foster is, yeah, he's weaving. He wants to break that toe, but it's impossible. You've got too many cars behind you. Just making free wide. Cameron Das down the inside at turn 10. Brilliant move. Sweeping momentum there, but if Crawford stays on the outside, he could regain it. Das what's in, and Crawford jumps on the inside, turn 11, the double apex corner. He stays in there, but Das still has the momentum. He's going to be ahead when he comes back onto the inside line for the next left-hander. Crawford stays alongside, so there's two Motor Park Americans are still running, and Crawford snatches the lead. Very possessive of the track space there, so I imagine they're going to end at least this corner in the same positions. There are several cars behind now. Louis Foster has not enough room to even breathe probably in front, so they come into the final corner, coming to end this 8th lap of the race. This is half of the race completed, and we have half of the field in a single frame.
I think this is the closest we've seen it all weekend long. Jack Crawford tucking up behind inside. We have a move in the back there. Looks like Asman wanting to have a go on Villagomez. Can't make it through on that occasion. Ends up running wide. But that is the... I think that's Villagomez just keeping position ahead of Asman. We'll have a close look at that when we get to it, but I think Foster will be quite pleased that Crawford and Das ended up having a little fight there, because that did give him a little bit, wouldn't say much, but a little bit more breathing room just to focus on staying in front. But it is Foster in the lead from Crawford, Das, Mason, and now Villagomez has brought himself into this fight, as has Asman, truly as well, not too far behind them. Then there's a bit of a gap back to Casper Stevenson.
Yeah, Trulli's been the fastest driver on track for the last 3 laps. He's been lapping in the 1 minute 56 as most of the drivers ahead in the 57s, 58s. Jack Crawford.
That is...
Foster's getting so defensive, and Crawford uses more curb. He's tucked in, he's going to be right on his tail, but Cameron Das is going to have the double slipstream effects. It's all about the positioning of the cars by this point, because we know they're close enough to pass, but they need to almost block off the driver behind so the driver in third doesn't get the double toe, and Foster takes the inside line. He's going to keep it turn 10. Crawford's going to duck on there as tight as he can in turn 11. Jabs around, but he can't get it done. Crawford's then going to tuck in, and he does it. Second time in a row he's pulled this off. Foster nose crunching, and they spin contact. Crawford's losing the lead. Cameron Das is now ahead, but Crawford's going to dive down, reclaims the lead, going alongside of turn 12 into the apex. Through turn 13, bashes wheels slightly. Cameron Das, our points leader, back ahead. Jack Crawford in second place. No sign of Louis Foster now. Josh Mason in third. Villagomez in fourth. Nazem Asman in fifth. Coming into the final corner. Huge lock up there from Josh Mason. So end of lap 9. Louis Foster's not at the top anymore. Cameron Das, Jack Crawford, Josh Mason. Those are the top 3.
And breathe.
I needed that.
That could have been a huge crash as well, as Das takes lead, but that is Villagomez having a little look down the inside of Mason. Has he been able to get it through for third? And he has. Villagomez through on Mason for third. Mason will be very unhappy with that. He's been waiting for something like that to happen in front of him for ages, and now Mason is going to come under cover from Asman behind him for fifth. So battles everywhere you look on screen. Louis Foster spinning out. He's wound down in 8th position behind Stevenson. And we're going to get a little replay of it here. That is where I thought we were going to get an aeroplane-style accident, but brilliant driving from both drivers. Louis Foster incredibly defensive, but it's Jack Crawford who manages to force himself on that inside line. They do have a little bit of a touch. It was Foster going into the back ever so slightly of Crawford and just losing the front end and spinning round and that actually gave Das the full advantage to swing around the outside and make it work, and that was the move for third. Villagomez on Josh Mason. So Josh Mason down to fourth now, but the two Americans out in front are not letting this battle go either. They may have lost Louis Foster, who is doing an absolutely sterling job of defensive driving there, so it's a real shame he was forced to be spun out there. But Das ahead of Crawford, Villagomez now in third.
And we're now seeing the true pace of these top two. They've immediately gone personal best sectors, fastest first sector of the race, personal best, personal best. So they were kind of not necessarily being held up by Foster, but they weren't quite being able to go. And you have to see sunshine at the final sector of that. We haven't seen that in about 3 days. Mason as well was so close now, but as soon as he's passed by Villagomez, he's dropped off 3 seconds from the lead, and he was under a second behind earlier on. So we come to the end of the 10th lap. Das looks the most comfortable a leader has looked during this race, half a second ahead of Jack Crawford. Yeah, Mason struggling for pace, it seems, down in fourth and unable to make any inroads on Villagomez. We'll see if Asman and Truly can take advantage of that and get themselves up higher up the order. Because it is Das, Crawford, Villagomez, Mason and Asman, your top 5. Then Truly, Stevenson, Foster now down to 8th, having led this race and spinning out after that amazing battle with Das, Crawford and Josh Mason getting in the mix too. And then Kaviniar's Schionti, Chovanec and Kasei down in 12th and last currently. And fastest lap too for Cameron Das. Pulling away slightly from Jack Crawford, but it's only 0.7 of a second. That's still going to give Crawford some nice slipstream as we come down into the tricky chicane off the Mistral Straight. Further back now though, Mason coming under pressure from Nazi Asman. And Enzo Trulli has really closed in now, still lapping the 1:56, his personal best for him last time by. But as soon as the top two are freed, immediately into the 1:55s. So I imagine they're going to end this race several seconds clear. Yeah, you can already see a visible gap between the two packs of cars. The pack starting to build up behind Villagomez here, and that is pulling Enzo Trulli along very nicely indeed. So we've had 10 laps, 6 to go. Enzo Trulli will be wanting to try and get close to Nazim Asman. But Asman has been fast. We know he is fast. He's just had a bit of bad luck this year. So he's hoping, or this year in France in particular. So he'll be hoping that he can potentially get P3 for Asman if he can salvage a podium, as we look like Mason going very wide there into the turn 14 and now turn 15. So that's going to allow Asman to get right on the back of him. Das with a little bit of a gap back now to Crawford, who's sticking with him, and then a large gap back to Villagomez. Mason having to defend from Asman, who is all over the back of him. He has a little look down the inside. He tries it. Can't make it through there. Through turn 2 we go, as Cameron Das sets another fastest lap. 7/10 now ahead of Crawford. And 4.5 seconds ahead of Rafael Villagomez in third place, who kind of established himself briefly in that position, but Josh Mason crawling back in at turn 3 and turn 4. Nazim Asman in 5th. Enzo Trulli. Casper Stevenson. Casper Stevenson's actually just been passed by Louis Foster, so the Foster recovery is back on. He's in 7th place, 2 seconds behind Trulli. We might be able to see him at the back there in the kind of blue and black car. Not quite close enough to benefit in the slipstream, but equally far away enough to avoid any drama. Where can Louis Foster salvage his race? How high up the grid can he get? It'll be very tough with the limited time we have left, but it is Das, Crawford and Villagomez. So I think the battle for first is certainly on, and then the battle for third is another big one to watch, with at least 4 cars involved in that battle for third. It's Villagomez, Mason Asman, and then Trulli is at the rear of that, getting a good view, but they all seem to be line astern. As we watch Enzo Trulli turn through turns 10 and 11 at this circuit, Paul Ricard, 164 different layouts here. We're using just the one today into this final sector. Das now half a second only, so Crawford has been able to get that gap down by a couple of tenths on that last lap, and there will be no further action involved between cars 52, which is Jack Crawford, and car 27, Louis Foster. So they've looked into that spin that forced Louis Foster out.
decided it was most likely a racing incident, as that is the number 18 car of Nazim Azman having a little look at Josh Mason. Not able to get through just then. Villagomez right there as well in front of them. He'll have to be watching his rear mirrors. Azman now taking the outside line into turn 3. That will give him the inside of turn 4. Takes a nice wide line, and that has allowed him to get up into 4th ahead of Josh Mason. And Enzo truly fancied a little look at Mason as well, getting right alongside him, but unfortunately has to bide his time a little bit longer. Mason under pressure here. Azman through on 4th. He'll start to chase down 3rd place man Villagomez and try and salvage something from his weekend. Mason now in 5th, apologies. All over him, though, is Enzo Trulli.
And Louis Foster is so close to the back of that train now. He is going to be fighting among them very soon as well. He could potentially get all the way back up to 3rd or 4th place.
Well, let's have a look at how it happened. Nazim Azman on the outside there, swooping round Josh Mason, then taking a wider line through turn 4. And we ride on board with Enzo Trulli, who had a grade A view of it. Turning in, and this allowed him to really close up to Josh Mason. Sensible driving from Trulli, taking a nice inside line. Dives down the inside of Mason. There is a little bit of a touch, I think, but nothing too disgruntling. But Mason able to get better traction out of that and holds on for the time being. As we look, though, that is now Enzo Trulli through on Josh Mason. So he was able to use the slipstream here and then through into turn 10. Able to dive down the inside, force Mason out onto the horrible stuff on the outside line. So Das leads, and Crawford is just behind him there. Those are your top 2. Villagomez clinging on for 3rd, but is now under huge pressure from Azman in 4th. Trulli now in 5th ahead of Josh Mason, who has fallen down the order through 6 and is fallen down even further because Louis Foster, the comeback is on. Foster forcing his rival all the way out wide to get in front of him. Foster takes Mason into turn 1. Foster now back up into 6th place, having led this race from the early stages, trying to recover after a spin in his heated battle with Jack Crawford and Cameron Das. And Mason having a torrid time of it out there right now. Next up for him to worry about will be Stevenson, Casper Stevenson in 8th. So we'll see how much Mason can hang on to 7th place. But it is Das from Crawford, then Villagomez, Azman, Trulli, Foster. And this was the move. Oh, great move from Louis Foster. Late down into turn 15. And allowed himself to get that inside line. But it was important that he pushed Mason as far out as he could to try and get that momentum into turn 1, which he did very nicely indeed.
3 laps to go. It's not really clear who's going to win this race. Cameron Das under pressure from Jack Crawford. 4 attempts separate them. Crawford fastest lap on the previous lap, so that would earn him an extra point. Enzo Trulli could be in contention for a podium now. He is only 1.7 seconds behind Rafael Villagomez in 3rd place. Louis Foster 3 seconds off the podium at the moment. Crawford's closer than probably since the first half of this race, going for the race lead right now. Could he do the triple win, just like Cameron Das did at Algarve, coming through the final 2 corners of this track? He's not going to dive down the rear end, getting very loose. Now, that may look extreme, maybe the tyre's getting old, but that's also kind of a motor park strategy or setup thing they do. They do get the car to rotate more around the rear so they can then be straighter on the exit the corners and get out very quickly.
Crawford has been able to stick with Das throughout this final part of the race, and he'll be thinking, where can I make the move? Is he going to try and do it on the last lap? Ever so slightly quicker than Cameron Das throughout the last few laps, a 10th up on that last lap. But with only 2 more to go, Crawford is running out of time to make it the triple. 4 tenths currently, and fastest lap go to Crawford, and Crawford gets out wide onto the runoff area. He has a snap of oversteer, and that has forced him to fall back from Cameron Das. So we'll see whether that was just a bit of oversteer and understeer correction, or did he go out a little bit wide? Is he starting to lose the tyre life? You have to wait a few corners to scrub off all the marbles offline. Let's take a look at it now. Here it is. He just gets a bit offline, and I think he's a victim there of the marbles offline, which just drag him out a little bit to that runoff area, but he manages to save it and come back on.
And that could secure Cameron Das his 4th win from 6 races this season. Although the podium battle is still open. Rafael Villagomez personal best lap, but he's still you know, 4 tenths, 6 tenths slower than the cars behind. Enzo Trulli is the form driver on track right now besides these top two. Cameron Dass looking for not only his 4th win in 4 races, but obviously went a few years without winning, so this will be his, it'll bring him up the winners table to, I'm trying to think, my Euroformula stats brain here. Quite a few drivers who have 4 wins on their tab. Either way, it's a lot of wins.
It is indeed. But Jack Crawford will be wanting to make it the triple here in Paul Ricard. A dominant weekend so far for him.
Look how sunny the pit straight is. We couldn't have imagined this at the start of the race. It's getting so much warmer and so much sunnier, and that's obviously going to burn the tyres out a little more as well. Enzo Trulli, I think the camera's being a little bit deceptive how close these drivers are. He's currently in 5th place, 1.4 seconds ahead of Louis Foster, and only half a second behind Nazim Azman.
And Azman all over the back of Villagomez. Azman will want that 3rd place for all his might to try and salvage his weekend. Started on pole for race 2 and fell back in the pack after a slow start and then a collision, and race 1 started in the middle of the pack, and then he stalled the car on the grid, managed to get going, but it was a recovery drive from there. So a 3rd place for him will at least go some way to salvaging his unfortunate weekend. But this is the battle then for 3rd. Villagomez in front and the number 18 of Azman just behind, trying to get that slipstream. Enzo Trulli not quite close enough to make anything work. He's going to have a look out for Louis Foster, but this is the final lap. So if anything's going to happen, it's going to happen now if they want to make it work. He has a little look. Azman can't make it through there. Can they both get it stopped in time? Azman can't. He just about does, but forced out wide, and that is going to allow Villagomez to live to fight another day. As we continue now, though, to watch our top 2, and Crawford has fallen back by 1.1 seconds now to 1st place man Cameron Dass. And I think that little mistake that happened in the previous lap has cost Jack Crawford the win here, because Cameron Dass has driven a sublime race. He comes through turns 14, he'll enter the final corner. And having started this race from the 2nd row, he's come through with some brilliant overtaking manoeuvres to win race 3 here in France at the circuit Paul Ricard for Euroformula Open. Cameron Dass is your winner. Jack Crawford comes home in 2nd place. A very strong weekend for him. Villagomez just fends off Nazim Azman by a couple thousandths of a second. We got a spinner on the very last lap. That is the number 88 car of Filip Kameniars, and that looks like Zdeněk Chovanec getting through on Scionti in the very last corner. That will be to secure 10th, but it was Azman in 4th. Trulli came up in 5th, just ahead of Louis Foster, who managed to recover after that spin in 6th. Josh Mason down to 7th, then Casper Stevenson in 8th. Chovanec with that last corner move on Scionti will come home 9th, ahead of Scionti in 10th. Kaseki in 11th, and Kameniars will, he hasn't quite crossed the line yet, so we'll see whether he got the car going again after that spin, but he will be last of the runners, and he has now crossed the line. So all 12 finishing the race, but there is your race winner. That is 4 race wins for Cameron Dass so far in 2021 Euroformula. 3 of them came in Portimao. He manages to stop his compatriot Jack Crawford from getting the triple here in France.
And the question is, at the final corner when Kameniars span, were the yellow flags straight away? Because if that pass is completed when yellow flags are there, probably won't count. But because it happens so quickly, I imagine they weren't there, and that move will be totally fine. We'll wait and see what happens with that one, but as it's for a move further back in the pack, we'll focus at the top, because there is your final finishing order. Dass ahead of Crawford then, and Villagomez just about holding on to 3rd, Nazim Azman 4th, Enzo Trulli in 5th, Louis Foster is 6th, Josh Mason couldn't handle the pace of the others in front of him in 7th, Casper Stevenson 8th, Zdeněk Chovanec with that last corner move in 9th, ahead of Enzo Scionti in the 2nd DriveX School cars. Jack Crawford, they're securing the fastest lap with a 1:54.9. But it is an all-American 1-2. Vivian Kasei, the Hungarian, for Team Motorpark in 11th, and then Filip Kameniars in 12th. That's what it does to the Drivers' Championship then. Jack Crawford up to 2nd with that, 55 points though, back from Cameron Dass. Louis Foster holds on to 3rd. Nazim Azman salvages a little something with 4th.
Rafael Villagomez in 5th, Enzo Trulli in 6th, Stevenson 7th with 61 points, Josh Mason 32 and 8th, Chovanec and Scionti rounds out the top 10. And that is your race 3 complete. Cameron Dass takes the checkered flag as the winner, his 4th win in 2021 Euroformula, the 21-year-old from Baltimore. Almost a veteran, really, of Euroformula Open, been learning his craft alongside other series, entered Euroformula in 2018, finishing 5th, also done the Toyota Racing Series as well, and FIA Formula 3. And here he comes in now, the number 28 car of Cameron Dass for Team Motorpark. They'll be very pleased with that. Team principal Timo Rumskill will take that, I think, to end the weekend here in France, and so will Cameron Dass. Very happy with that indeed. And pulling up alongside him will be Jack Crawford in that Red Bull liveried car in 2nd. Could have had him there, but was forced out slightly wide onto the marbles in that penultimate lap. Perhaps cost him the win there. And 3rd place, Rafael Villagomez clung on from Nazim Asman. Villagomez with a relatively quiet race there, but coming under pressure towards the end, but just about made it fit. The 19-year-old from Mexico, the 2019 Ricard Mille Young Talent winner, finishing in 3rd, and that is your winner. Very happy indeed. All smiles for the camera.
Nice race.
And Americans really are dominating this Euroformula Championship, and I think the Red Bull Junior program as well will be very pleased to see such a strong weekend from Jack Crawford, who of course couldn't even take part in the first 2 races in Portimao because he was too young. He turned 16 on the Sunday in Portugal and then was able to race and then finished in 7th. So he's followed that up with 2 wins and a 2nd place finish. So a very, very good job from Jack Crawford there, the rookie, 2nd and the overall rookie winner. Enzo Trulli, 2nd of the rookies, back in 5th overall. He'll be pleased with that. He's had an up and down weekend so far, learning from his mistakes. But here those your top 3. Rafael Villagomez for Van Amersfoort Racing, the Mexican, clung on to 3rd, just behind the number 52 of Jack Crawford for Team Motorpark. But he couldn't quite do it in the end because it was Cameron Dass who took his 4th win in 2021, who wins race 3. Let's hear from him.
Cameron, welcome back to this position. Quite an entertaining way to finish the weekend. Great race and a great win. You must be elated.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, a win from pole is always nice, but a win from any position behind that's even more gratifying. So I had got a really nice move around Jack in turn 11, and then I kind of gave it up the next corner, so I was really, really mad. And I just kind of had fire in my eyes, and I had to win the race after that.
Well done then. Let's go to the podium.
Thank you.
Race 3 of Euroformula got underway here on Sunday afternoon at Paul Ricard. It was Jack Crawford on pole, Louis Foster in the blue liveried car on the outside line. This is what he did in race 2 as well. Decided to sweep round the outside of turn 1 and was able to take the lead through into turn 2 from Jack Crawford in the early stages. Cameron Dass lurking behind in 3rd. Foster had to really defend for all his might though from that Red Bull liveried car of Jack Crawford. Race 1 and 2 winner. And it was a absolutely action-packed fight for this lead with Foster, Crawford and even Josh Mason in the white car there coming through to have a little sniff of what was going on in front of him. Louis Foster defending now from Cameron Dass, who then managed to get through on Jack Crawford briefly before Crawford said, no thank you, I would like to come back through and regain 2nd place. And then that last dash move there to the outside of Louis Foster, and then moving back down to the inside of the number 27 car allowed Jack Crawford to regain the lead, but a slight touch between both of them forced Louis Foster around into a spin and then allowed Cameron Dass to come through, carrying that momentum and speed to take the win and to take the lead at that stage. Further back in the pack, Enzo Trulli having a battle with Casper Stevenson. But it was Cameron Dass who was able to hold on after a slight mistake from Jack Crawford in the last few laps. But Cameron Dass came home to win his 4th race in 2021 Euroformula. And we'll await him to come on the podium now. On the right-hand side, for 3rd is Rafael Villagomez. 2nd is Jack Crawford. 1st, Cameron Dass for the American national anthem now. It's an all-American 1-2 in Euroformula for race 3 here at the circuit. Paul Ricard, we've been treated to some brilliant races this weekend here in France, in Le Castellet near Marseille. The drivers will have their pictures together. But it was Cameron Dass, Jack Crawford and Rafael Villagomez, your top 3. Euroformula will return at Spa-Francorchamps on the 18th to the 20th of June. Do make sure you join us then. For myself, Harry Benjamin, I look forward to hearing you soon.